Welcome back to the Applecrafts podcast. My name is Alicia, and this is my podcast about primarily knitting with a little bit of crochet. So, how you guys doing? This is a little bit of a different background format. What I decided to do was, because of the giveaway in the last video, I figured I should do a reintroduction type of video. Actually, not really videos. This is going to be a two-parter because I'm going to do my mid-month after this. So yeah, my name is Alicia, and welcome to all of you new guys. It's awesome that you guys are here. I'm like really excited about that. I have like so many people compared to what I had before. So I'm really happy about that. So I guess what I'm going to do is just tell you a little bit about myself. I am a pretty private person, so trying to decide what to share, what not to share. We'll see how it goes. So the quick basics about me is I live right outside of Nashville, so just for ease of conversation, I say I'm in Nashville. I'm not, directly in Nashville, but I'm outside Nashville, not too far away. And I live here with my husband and kids and my many cats. And I run a hand-dyed yarn business, Applecrafts. And everything is in my craft room, and no cats are allowed in my craft room. So whenever you order from me, there really should not be any cat hair. So I try really hard to make sure that there's no cross-contamination there. What else? There's probably going to be a lot of editing. Grab a drink. Let's see. So the name of my business, Applecrafts. So I was trying to be quirky and cute and use my initials and then do like, APL sounds like apple. So let's make it Applecrafts and make a logo with an apple. And so that doesn't really work because people still call it APL crafts. So that's why there's a parenthesis that says Applecrafts, so that you know how to pronounce Applecrafts. Because I thought I was being clever. And now it's too late to change it. So there we are. And I designed the logo myself using the paint program on the computer. Because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about. So let me tell you a little bit about how Applecrafts runs. I like to reuse materials whenever possible. So a lot of packaging that comes in, say from Amazon or something like that, I will reuse in my own shipping as long as it's clean. I do not reuse anything that's dirty. Typically when you order from me, if it's not in that type of packaging, it'll just be in like tissue paper inside of a bubble wrap, just because I want to protect it in the mail, because we like to think that things go from point A to point B in a nice, smooth fashion, but I think some of us know that that's really not the case. So, me reusing stuff, helps to keep the cost down. What else about the business? I've been in business since, I guess technically the beginning of 2018. So I was playing around with yarn dyeing at the end of 2017. And then I started selling on eBay. I still occasionally sell on eBay if I have a colorway that's been sitting around for a really long time that just for whatever reason won't sell. Stick it on eBay, it sells. I do have to mark it down way, like I'm just making my money back from cost. That's basically what's going on there. It's probably not important to you, but figure, transparency. What else? Oh boy. This is where what do I share? Okay, well, probably some of you might be curious, because I know I'm usually curious about it for the reason I'm about to tell you, is my background, my ethnicity, whatever. Some of you are probably trying to figure out what I am. Only because my whole entire life, inevitably, somebody comes up and goes, "What are you? Where are you from?" Or they speak to me in some other language, usually Spanish. So I'm mixed. I'm Italian, Portuguese, and Black. And because of my skin color and, my features, I blend in with, I'm going to say, a third of the planet. So that's why I get that a lot. So because I'm mixed, and I've had the privilege, I'm going to put that out there because as I'm getting older, I'm realizing this is a privilege. I've had the privilege of being accepted by both sides of my family. So I feel very strongly about mixed race issues that don't really get talked about because there's a lot of people out there who are not accepted by one side of the family or the other. And it's a huge thing. So this is something that I don't put on my podcast, but I will put on Instagram every once in a while. I'll share it, talking about that type of thing. So because of that, I naturally kind of am guessing or thinking about what someone is or what their backgrounds are or if they're accepted by their families and that kind of thing. Because it's a very real everyday thing for me. So that's something about me. Another thing that I feel pretty strongly about is LGBTQA plus rights. I do identify under that. I am bisexual. So that's something I don't really talk about on the podcast because I like to try to keep it primarily what I'm making, whatever. But on Instagram, again, you'll occasionally see something like that. So those are two things that, you're going to see. And I'm going to try not to be rude, but if those things don't vibe with you, this is probably not the podcast for you. I'm probably not the maker for you. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm originally from Connecticut. I've been in Nashville for 18 years. 18 and a half years. I moved down here in March of 2005. Yeah. It's been a wild ride, y'all. Let's go back to knitting. So I like to, even though I haven't really shown it this year, I do like to knit a lot of sweaters. I just don't have sweater quantity yarn right now. That's half true. I have sweater quantity yarn. It's still wrapped up in packaging from the wholesaler, and I haven't opened it up yet because I'm trying to get this down a little bit. I know I've just bought yarn, but I don't think that supporting an LYS when you're traveling and yarn stashing is really the same thing because I feel obligated in a way. That's probably not the right word. I do feel like I should support LYSs because so many of them close every single day, and I would like to throw them a little bit of money if I have it. So I don't really count that. I am trying to dwindle some of this. And I haven't opened up that yarn because I'm actually trying to downsize my business, which I was going to talk about later, but I might as well talk about it now. So I'm not closing my business. I'm just downsizing it, which is why I have like this 2-for-1 sale going on. So you can get yarn for cheaper. I have 1 or 2 colorways a month that are marked down, big time, no lower than $20. So usually about $20. Like the Alexandrite that I have right now for this month is at $20. So I'm really just trying to get that down, because I would like to introduce new colors and stuff, but at a lower inventory, if you will, where I actually have shop updates and stuff like that. And a lot of dyers actually do that, and I feel like that's the path I need to take as well, just because of things going on in my life and all that. So I think that's really it about me. Let me think. Oh, I should probably also tell you, I have ADD and I am not medicated. I don't want to be medicated. So I'm going to jump around a lot. That's just, I try really hard not to jump around a lot, but I'm going to jump around a lot. So yeah, the other thing I want to talk about was when I started working with yarn, I was 13, 14. So I come from a crafty-ish family. Actually, my family is, there's a lot of variety there. We're a military family on both sides, music on both sides, crocheting, knitting, sewing. So there's a lot of crafty and art and everything going on there. So I've been around cross stitch and yarn and knitting and crochet my entire life, but I didn't really pick that up until I was about 13 when I started cross stitch first, actually. And I started with the cross stitch with the imprint on the fabric so you can follow along. And then I moved to counted cross stitch, and then I moved to like harder patterns in there, and I might put some photos of my work over here. And then when I was 14, I started to crochet. I got an interest in that, and actually my mom tried to teach me, and I couldn't, like, I'm realizing as I see videos of crochet that the way that I learned how to start a foundation chain isn't the normal way or the typical way to start a foundation chain. So I couldn't wrap my head around the way my mom was doing it. So she taught my brother, and my brother taught me. And then from there, I learned how to do all the other stitches because that was all I needed to know was how to get started. It was weird. So I made like tons of blankets for years. And then when I was 20, I started making scarves. And then, oh boy, I guess maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I really started to branch out. Because for some reason in my head, I just always had it where if you're going to crochet, you do blankets or scarves. And I knew that other things kind of existed, but like I feel like it didn't exist for me. And then I started making hats as the beauty of YouTube, and it just kind of took off from there. And then there was a point in time when I was a teenager that my grandmother was trying to teach me how to knit, but I would have to go to her place, and that didn't happen very often, even though we lived in the same town. So that didn't work out. But then later, again, with the beauty of YouTube, I taught myself how to knit. And I honestly can't tell you if I'm a continental or an English. I don't know what style it is. It's, I'm using my right hand to hold the yarn, which is weird because I don't, usually when you crochet, your yarn is in this hand, in the left hand, if you're right-handed, generally. And from what I understand is that with people who do both knitting and crochet, they just start picking up whatever the style is with their left hand, and I'm the opposite. And maybe it's because I taught myself that way from YouTube, but it works out for me. I do know how to knit the other way. I don't know how to purl with my left hand, but I do know how to knit. It's just I never do that. But knowing how to knit, the knit stitch with my left hand actually helps with color work. So I can just do 2 colors and it's not a problem. So there's that. So that it helped with that. But almost everything I do with my left hand. And I think that's English. I don't know. Honestly, I don't care. Because everybody has their own style of knitting. And I don't really think it's a big deal. And I don't understand why we make it a big deal. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I taught myself how to knit in 2015, 2016. I was playing around with like different stitches and stuff, and using red heart as you do. And I think I might have a photo of the first thing I actually knit. I'll put that here if I do. And it is wonky as hell. It was a scarf with this multicolored yarn, and I gave it to my son, and I don't even know if I'm sure he still has it. It's probably just thrown in a corner somewhere. He's somewhat knitworthy. He doesn't wear anything, honestly, that is like accessory type. So I'll just put that out there. But I did make him an ear warmer, and I did make him a scarf, and he does occasionally wear the ear warmer. So I'll put him on a knitworthy list. But most of the time I just knit for myself, because most people in my life, I want to say, see, it's kind of weird. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this too, where like you'll have the people who are quote unquote knitworthy, and then you have the people who like handmade, but you got to give them the stuff that goes in the washer and the dryer, and you got to use a material that's really made for that, because they will never take care of it the way it's supposed to be taken care of. And that's kind of where the people fall in my life, where like there's a handful of people who want the things that are handmade, but I got to use that type of material. Which brings me to a point that I want to make that I also feel strongly about, is that there's a yarn for every project. So yarn snobbery, yeah, I get it. It's a thing. Wool, yeah, it's sustainable and it's good for the environment. But we're always caught in that, you know, wanting to give people things and gift people things, but having to do it in a way where we're not wasting 80 hours of our time for someone who's going to screw it up because they don't know how to take care of the thing. Does that make sense? So that's why I think there's a yarn for every project. So, like, I don't bash a yarn because even if it doesn't really work for me most of the time, it's going to work for somebody else for whatever project they need. So let's just learn more about yarn substitution and what's going to work for a project, then we worry about what base that material is. So anyway, maybe I should talk about some. Okay, I'll talk about some non-yarny related stuff that's about me. Can you tell I'm not used to doing this? I do like to garden, and my garden's not big this year, but it's still big enough. So right now I've got tomatoes, my snow peas and sugar snap peas are going to seed right now. Got cucumbers, potatoes. I'm getting ready to harvest potatoes soon. Actually, it's going to rain this weekend, so I got to do it this week. What else am I planning on doing? Patty pan squash, only because I can't find my zucchini seeds. I don't feel like ordering anything. I have a big box of seeds. So that's getting started right now. I have a crimson tomato. There's a good story about a crimson tomato. So if you garden at all, check out M.I. Gardener. I'll put his name here. And do a little search for crimson tomato. He's got a whole documentary about this tomato. I'm not going to go into it here because it's a lengthy story, but it's a pretty freaking awesome story. So I'm excited to grow those tomatoes this year. So far so good. So they look good. I did 3 plants. I'm into astrology, not everyday horoscope astrology, more like birth charts and you know, yearly horoscopes, monthly horoscopes, tarot. I'm still learning tarot. From what I understand, it's always a journey, but I'm getting better at reading the cards and finding my own style that works for me with that. My favorite color is cobalt blue, which I don't know if I have any cobalt blue here in case you don't know what that looks like. This is cobalt blue. This is like, just let me swim in this color for the rest of my life. I'll be excited. This is the best color in the world. So when the house I lived in growing up, we used to have a stained glass door. A lot of the homes where I grew up were built in anywhere from 1880 to 1920, so, and a lot of them are still have a lot of original features. So the house I grew up in, we had a stained glass on the stairs and we had a stained glass on the front door. And when I say stained glass, it's not anything fancy. It's like, okay, you've got, you know, the window that you look out in, and then it was trimmed with different color glasses. And I remember when I was growing up, I used to look out in every single color, and there was like a rose one, and there was a red one, and a blue one, and a green one, and a yellow one, and all that. And my favorite one was blue. And so for a long time as a kid, I didn't know what that color was until, you know, something happened. I ended up talking to somebody about it and found out that's what it was. So yeah, that's my favorite color. My second favorite color is purple, which you'll see a lot of. I'm more bathed in purple than I am in cobalt blue, which is weird. I also like color psychology. So there's that. The color psychology is when the colors that you are attracted to the most or wear the most usually represent a part of your personality. So like blues and purples are usually like loyalty, trust, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a quick and dirty, but I think it's fascinating. And I actually like to use color theory a little bit in my house because, you know, being a yarn dyer, I'm around a lot of color. So my bedroom is very white, just so I have a blank slate, which actually really helps balance out. Because if I have too much color everywhere, I think my brain would be overwhelmed and I wouldn't be able to really, it'll be harder for me to work with color. I think if I didn't have a blank slate to rest in every day, if that makes sense. What else? I think that's it. I can't really think of anything else. So I hope that wasn't too boring. I hope there's not a bajillion edits in here because there probably are. That'll be fun. And right after this, you know, I don't know how long it's going to be before I do my podcast, but it'll just be a second for you. So, yeah. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you in a few seconds. Well, I decided to go ahead and podcast today. So this episode, I'm going to have a couple of finishes, a few whips, some yarn from Surprise Surprise Smart Supply, because of course, shop news. I think that's it. So let's get started. So a couple of finishes that I made were hats this time. No squares. I think we need a break from the squares, right? Yeah. So made a couple of hats with the yarn that I bought in Atlanta. So I'm going to go over this one first. I don't know if I should put it on. We'll see. This is the Bernie's Winter Blues Toque. So if you're familiar with United States politics at all, I believe it was Biden's inauguration. Bernie Sanders was caught wearing what we thought was knitwear, which turned out to be something else, but sort of like knitwear. But this pattern that was on his gloves just blew up the internet and rivalries. So this is a version of that. It is I believe it's a free pattern. And I'll link it down below. And this pattern is by Tracy Phoenix Wildfyre. So basically what I did here, take it off. I kind of modified because there's supposed to be 5 colors and I used 4. So what I did was I lengthened each color section to make up for the loss of a 5th color. So this one, do I have this? I do have tags. I do, I promise. But I don't know what yarn goes with what, because of course. I don't know what color that is. Anyway, I think this one was Woolstock, sorry, in deep velvet. I think this one here. That's the tag. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's what the color was. There we go. And then this color here, I moved the camera a little bit far back so you can see more of the background, so we'll see how this goes. This color here is mine. This is April in Tennessee. I don't sell this one anymore. I might bring it back in the future, we'll see. But that's mine. This is all worsted weight, by the way. And then this pink one is Quartz Crystal. Oh, come on. There we go. From Blue Sky Fibers, Woolstock. And yeah, so I just alternated those 4 colors. Oh, sorry, I missed a color. Queensland. That's the bright pink. And that color is, does it have a color name? I'm sure that it does, but they only have a dye lot. So if you're one of those that goes by dye lot, oh, come on. There we go. That's the lot. So I made that, and yeah, it fits really well. It's good for, in my climate down here in the southeast US, it's not good for like January winter, but like December winter. And if you know, you know, because like most of the time our winter doesn't hit until January, and then it's like ice storms for a month and a half, and then it's like summer. We completely skip spring. Except for the last year or two, we've had spring and fall, which is mind-blowing because usually we don't have a fall or spring. It's just winter and summer. So this is for that transitional period that was, you know, most of the other country has, but we somehow are new to in the last few years. So that's done. And then I know I showed this hat a couple of months ago. It's Kaiya May, so I made a second one, but I made it in a thinner yarn this time because last time I kind of took liberties with the pattern, and this time I tried to follow it a little bit more. But what I wanted to do was bring this light up a little bit more because I didn't want a whole third of the hat to be just the pink. I wanted to have some of that contrast going up near to the top of the crown. So that's, and I need to do something with that. But this is April in Tennessee, and then there's that pink again from Queensland collection. And I didn't make this one tall enough, so it's a little, I may give this one away because it's just barely covering my ears, and I do have an ear issue. If I get air hitting my ears too much, I will get sick because ear, nose, throat issues, y'all. So yeah, I think I'm probably gonna give this one away. But yeah, that's what that one looks like. Just 2 colors. The original pattern has, I think it's a multicolor yarn with a white contrast. So there's that. Kaiya May is from Jamie Hoffman. Yes, checking my notes. That's Jamie Hoffman. So that one's done. That's all I have for finishes. It's that rough month in May kind of went into June a little bit, so not as much knitting as I would have liked, but the mojo is picking up, so there's that. So hopefully we'll start seeing more knitting in the future. So I think I will talk about Slip Stitch Party next. You know what? Let me backtrack a little bit. I gotta start talking more about these yarns and stuff. I always tend to do that. So both of these hats were knit on a US 7. What is that? 4.5 millimeter on Chiago's. And I have to say this yarn, this Blue Sky Fibers, was really pleasant to work with. It's I think it's Peruvian. Yeah, it's Peruvian Highland wool, I believe. It says made in Peru, so I'm guessing, yeah. Where is the other tag? Because that one doesn't have the price covering it. Yes, it's fine. Oh boy. Focusing. Come on. There we go. It says fine Highland wool. And I was expecting it to be, it's kind of hard to tell on the skinny sometimes, but I was expecting it to be a little bit more rustic, and it was actually really quite soft for, in comparison to what I was expecting, and really nice to work with. So yeah, and the Queensland, the bright pink, kind of felt very similar to my own Aran weight yarn that's in the light color here. So that was really nice. Very quick projects. I think this one took me 2 days and this one took me 3, only because I had to fight with time. But I think if you had, time, it'd probably take you a day or 2. They're very quick knits if you're used to doing color work. So now I'll go into Slip Stitch Party from Isabelle Kraemer, which, guess what? We're out of the body. Look at that. We have new stuff. So these colors here, oh boy. Merino bamboo, I know that. So I think this was amethyst or something like that with the merino bamboo. That was the light purple color. And then that darker contrast was Wales Road from Malabrigo. Now it's the Ultimate Sock 7525 merino nylon. And now we're going into what color is that? I don't remember. I know it's the merino bamboo. And then the black is my Palworth. So I just decided to do a complete change with something that, goes with this. And I showed you guys the yarn last time. So we have another slip stitch section here. And then I slightly modified because I don't have all of the colors, nor did, well, okay, technically I do, but I decided that some of those colors really didn't go with the shawl. So sticking with the colors that I felt went with the shawl, I had to modify a little bit. So then I moved into Sabaduria with the black. And so what I did was I extended this section here and this section here, flanking the slip stitch section because it's supposed to be a different color. So I just extended that. And then this section here that I'm in, the slip stitch section, I haven't fully checked, so I don't know if there was a mistake in the pattern or if there was an errata. So, take that how you will. So I'm just going to say it's on me because I haven't fully checked to see if there was something I missed. But this black band here is not supposed to be there. So I was doing that checkerboard slip stitch, and I get to this section here with the black band and I'm like, that doesn't look right. Is that right? So I go and do it the way I was interpreting it in the pattern, and then I got that and I was like, is that right? And I was tired. It was nighttime. You know how that goes sometimes. So I was like, you know what? I'll check that later because I just don't feel like reading through all these comments. And there is a pattern support page that Isabelle has on Ravelry. I didn't feel like filtering through that. So I was like, you know what? I feel like if I do this the wrong way, then it's going to look the right way. So I'm just leaving it at that. So like I said, I'm sure it's user error and not, the designer, because Isabelle Kraemer is awesome. So, but yeah, so I'm in that section right now. And then after this, if I remember correctly, there is a ribbed section that's about 2-3 inches long, and then I'll be done. So right now, I'm caught up in stuff on this table. Right now, this this shawl is at, I know it's not long enough, so I may have to extend some stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's asymmetrical, so I really should go this way. It's like 55 inches. So I think when it's done before blocking, it's going to be 60, 58, which means after blocking, it's probably going to be like 63. That's almost about as big as I like my shawls. On the small side, because usually I like 65, 66. I don't know, let's see. Well, yeah, with an extra 5 inches, that might not be bad. This looks pretty nice. Goes with my shirt. and the room. If you saw the beginning of the video, I'm bathed in purple for whatever reason. So yeah, that'll work. We'll see. So I am knitting this on a US 4, which is, it's really hard to read these, even with good eyes and not wearing glasses. 3.5 millimeter. You know, I think that's my only beef with Chiagu, is that it's great that they imprint the size on the needle, and it shouldn't ever rub off. It's hard to see it, like that dark charcoal on steel. I really think they need to choose a darker color, because it's like, it's really, really hard to see most of the time. So, yeah, I'm knitting this on, what did I say, 3.5 US 4. And yeah, okay. Granted, the shawl is literally called Slip Stitch Party. Y'all, kind of getting tired of doing slip stitches. I'm ready for this shawl to be done. It's a beautiful shawl. I'm just ready for it to be done, because I am so tired of slip stitching. So there's that. So hopefully by the next video, I'll be done. Why am I so tangled over here? I may have to edit some of this out. Hold on a second. Okay. I had to get situated. But my table's a mess. Like, it's... I'll get to that at the end of the video. I'll tell you why my table's such a mess. So, my next work in progress is Lilli Pilli by Ambah O'Brien. And I think I mentioned this in my last video. So right now, I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like. But right now I'm at the striped section, and there's 50 stripes that I have to do. Yeah. And this marker is at 40 rows. So I have 2, 4, 6 more rows to do, and then I'm done. So lately, what I've been doing, this has been my TV knitting. I've been watching the Orville every night, and so this is what I've been working on. But since I'm so close to where I have to do the lace, I decided to pick up another project, which I'll talk about next. So this one is, the yarn for this is, I found the label. I do remember talking about this. Mushroom, which is this multicolor purple with purple speckles and a cream. And that's from Redhead Fibers. She hasn't dyed in years, so. But that's her label. And those are the deets. And I'm holding that, not holding that, I'm working that with Knit Pick Stroll Fingering in Eggplant. And this yarn is 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and this mushroom color is 80-10-10 superwash merino nylon cashmere. So yep, that's my contract. Those are my stripes, and then I'm going to do the lace in this undyed stellina. Oh, you can kind of see the sparkle. There you go. So that's going to be the lace part. So those are my colors. So yeah, what am I knitting this on? I believe these are 5. Yeah, 3.75 millimeter US 5. So I figure since I only have a few rows left of that, and I have to go into the lace, and I'm not doing lace without a chart. It's not happening. I decided to pick up a shawl pattern that was, I don't really like to use the word mindless, but you know what I mean, like easy knitting, something I don't really have to think about. I don't really need a pattern for. Like after a few rows, you've got it in your head and you don't have to worry about it. So I went through my stash and found the Pix Capretta Superwash in Pinot Heather. And this yarn is 80-10-10 Superwash Merino Cashmere Nylon 50-gram balls. And I don't know if I talked about that. Yes, I did in my yarn stash video. I made a garment with this and I hated it. Like it's the most beautiful, soft feeling garment ever, and I still can't get the pills off. Like it's just, I highly caution using this yarn to knit a garment. I'll put it that way. But I figure it's probably good for a shawl because it's not going to get the type of wear and tear that a garment would. So I'm using this up to make the Winter Solstice, which is no, it's not a free pattern. I got it for free because I think I got it back in 2020, and there's a lot of designers who are giving out free patterns that year. I think that's how I got it. Anyway, it's called the Winter Solstice, and I only just started. But basically it's just garter and then drop stitches. And quite literally the pattern is just like, you know, put your garter and drop stitches wherever the heck you want for how many rows you want. So I'm like, hey, that works for me. So I made a little video on my Instagram, and I'll probably overlay it here, where I was learning that stitch because I've never done a drop stitch. Yeah, I've never done drop stitches on purpose before, so that was interesting. And I like the technique, it's really cool. So I am knitting this on, here we go again, Chiagu, come on now, US 6 4 millimeter. That's that. I think that's it for whips. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So the other day I went to Smart Supply and they had like a lot of yarn. Like I thought I had gone through the yarn section, and I turned around and I'm like, oh, there's more. Oh wait, there's more. There's another table. They had 3 tables full of yarn. So what I'm trying to do overall, even with my trip to Atlanta, I'm trying to find yarn that goes with what I have, so that when I'm trying to whittle that down, there's more yarn being used for a project instead of sitting on the shelf, if that makes sense. So I found this Regia. I've never used Regia before, and it's 75-25 wool and polyamide. I actually don't know if there's a color name. I didn't look. This is in German, but I do know a little bit of German. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the color. And it's almost true on screen. So I'm going to do this for socks. And I think I'm going to, I have bags over here that I usually use for like socks or blankets or color work or whatever. And I think I'm going to do contrasting toe and cuff or something like that with this to use that up. So there's that. And then I picked up, it says Mohawk wool, 60% merino, 30% Romney, 10% nylon. This was a deal. So the original price on this was $26 and I got it for $8. And there's the information. So what I got this for was to hopefully work with like my other rustic yarns that are sitting in here, because they're about the same yarn weight. So that was why I got this, because what I would like to do after I'm done with those squares is knit pants. So thinking long johns. So I feel like, I guess if you're in the South you don't know, but up north we as kids had to wear what we called long johns. So it's kind of like a clothing underneath your clothing in the winter, and I hated them. I would rather have been cold than to wear those things. So of course as I get older my mind has changed, and now I want something like that. And, you know, your body changes, and, you know, the way you react to heat and cold kind of changes as you get older sometimes too. So I'm like, yeah, I want to knit some worsted weight rustic long john pants. So I'm trying to figure out with that what pattern I want to use, because I know that that's going to matter, because when you're going around, you know, your booty and your thighs and stuff, there's got to be a lot of short rows going on there, and I want to find a pattern that has been I don't want to say just tested, but like knit enough that there's information out there for people of a variety of sizes, because that's very important to me, is to be able to see myself in a project. So I really rely heavily on project pages with people with photos of different body types, so that I can see how something could wear or fit. So I'm looking around, haven't found anything yet. I have a few ideas, but yeah, and you know, considering the type of project that it is, I'm not really too worried about whether or not the pattern's free or not. I just want to know if it's going to work. You know what I mean? Because I don't want my pants falling down when I'm trying to walk. You know what I'm saying? So I got this for that. So I'm starting to build a collection for that, so that I can knit that type of thing. And I think that's it. So I'm going to do a little bit of shop news. If you don't want to hang around for that, thank you for stopping by. If you do want to hang around for that, it's pretty much the same thing as last time. I'm just going over the yarns that I have for sale this month. So I only have one of these left. This is Alexandrite. This is June's birthstone colorway. And it's a pale lavender color with a blip of blue, which you can actually see right there. So there's that. And this is $20. And I believe on Handmaid's Market and on Etsy, you can just choose whichever store you want. You can choose a progress keeper that has your zodiac symbol on it for an extra $5. And they're all hand carved. I believe this is $20 as well. This is Bisexual Pride. This is on 85.15. And it's pink, blue, and purple speckles on a white background. It's fingering weight. The Alexandrite's fingering weight as well. And you'd think I'd know. I think it's Polworth. Pretty sure it's Polworth. Polworth's my favorite base, so I tend to have a lot of Polworth in the shop. Speckled abstract. And the difference between the two is that the abstract has more color blotches on it, whereas the speckled has more speckled. These are both on 85.15, but I do believe I have them on a couple other bases. You'll have to check the shop because I don't know off the top of my head. But this is just a rainbow pride flag on a white background. And I do believe that they start at $20 as well. And then yeah, this is the sparkle base. And this is the abstract, and that's the speckle. Same thing, so you have more color splotches here where you have more speckles on the speckled one. And let's see if you can find the shimmer. You might be able to see it. And I'm pretty sure that the sparkle starts at $20 as well for the month. Might be 22. And I think that's it. So, a little bit of news. I might be late with my next video because my son and I are swapping rooms. Like I said earlier in this video, I'm going to be downsizing, so I don't need this much space anymore. And he's a musician, so he plays several different instruments, and he kind of wants to get some of his music stuff online, so he needs a space that isn't going to bother my husband when he's working in his office. So this room is better for him. We did sound testing to make sure, whereas I don't mind being in a smaller room because Like I said, I don't really need the space anymore. So there's going to be a different background, but with all that, I might be late with my next video. I may do a vlog. I don't know. But I have to do a lot of cleaning. I got to do painting, all that. And then, you know, the setup and figuring out where things are going to go. So I don't know how long that's going to take. But yeah, I may do a vlog. If not, then I'll just show up. I'll be here in July. I just don't know when. If it's not going to be the end of the month or beginning of July, it might be the middle of July. But just a little FYI so you know. And that's it. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for everyone who watches. Thank you for new people. And I will see you next time. Bye.